Hi there, Pastor Lanre here. Welcome to another exciting episode of Pastor Lanre Uncensored. Today I want to deal with something that I consider very, very important. You see, every now and again, I get a partner, a spouse, one part of the spouse walk into the office and say things like, Pastor, we're having issues and I'm trying to resolve the issues. And whilst we are talking, this statement usually comes up and they will say something like, I'm just hoping that he will not let me get to the point where I stop caring. Or she will not let me get to the point where I stop caring. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. What do you do when your partner has stopped caring? How do you go on from there once the person you are married to has stopped caring about whatever the issues are, about you as a person, and about the state of affairs in your marriage? What are your options when your partner stops caring? But before we jump into that conversation, please let's take this time of worship with the anointed Emmanuel Ochonogo. I'll be right back after that.
You are the God that opens every door. Jesus. You are the God that makes the lame to walk. You are the God who makes the blind eyes see. Oh yes. You are the God who gives us victory. Alpha and Omega. Oh yes. Oh, your name, Alpha and Omega. We lift our hands to our Father today and we worship your name, your name. Oh, one more time, Alpha and Omega. We worship your name. Always I will worship you.
Welcome back. And thank you, Emmanuel Ochonogo, for that beautiful time of worship. All right, let us jump into this conversation. Like I said in my introductory remarks, every now and again you come across a very frustrated spouse, a husband or a wife, and they come into the office and they say things like, we're having these issues, but I'm worried that I may get to the point where I stop caring. And whatever my partner does stops bothering me. We will talk and try to get them from not getting there, but every now and again also, I find out that I have to deal with a couple who says, I'm done. Whatever he wants to do, whatever she wants to do, it doesn't matter anymore. Where I am right now, I don't care. What do you do when your spouse no longer cares? How do you move on from there when your spouse has lost interest? My friends, see, when we're talking about a marriage, you need to understand that nobody is perfect. Absolutely nobody is perfect. And let me also point out that usually when people are getting to this point, this loss of interest, this I don't care, this I couldn't be bothered, you find them picking on small mundane issues. Oh, I don't like how he throws his clothes around, or I don't like how she fries the egg or something. And it becomes an issue. When someone is getting to the point where they're that frustrated, small little issues take on big importance. You suddenly realize that things that are easy to overlook suddenly become very, very important. Then you start seeing the behavioral changes. Two of you are in the house and nobody's talking to one another. Everyone is on their phone, doing different things, and the gap is palpable. There is a total disconnect. They find fault with everything. They find a reason to accuse each other of everything. There is no emotional connection again. They accuse each other of being the problem, and they become unloving. There is no enthusiasm in the house. It's almost like, in fact, it's worse than when two strangers are living together, because two strangers can at least be civil. But when people get to this point, they're not only acting like strangers to one another, but they're also very antagonistic and aggressive towards one another. What do you do when your partner has checked out emotionally and you find out that you cannot reach them, you cannot get that connection that you used to have? The person has come to that point where they just do not care. How do you navigate that season of a marriage where one of the partner is in that place where they don't care anymore? What are the things that you can do? What are the options that are open to you? My friends, this is a very, very difficult place. And there are some things I want you to begin to consider as we discuss this subject. You know, you have to be careful not to blame the disconnection between the two of you on the mundane things they're complaining about. After a while, you realize that the talk was the disconnect or the separation or this gulf between the two of you is not a function of, oh, I don't like the fact that you leave the back door open. It's none of those things. Those things are just symptoms. And those things seem to take on huge importance because of the underlying disconnect. What I will say, if you find yourself in that place, is calmly try to have a conversation with your spouse. Try and get them to understand. Because you find out that you're quarreling over everything. Mundane issues. Little things. Things that previously were non-issues. Things that previously were overlooked suddenly become almost like non-negotiables. That when you walk away from that confrontation or from that argument or from that quarrel, even you are looking at yourself and you're wondering, why in the world are we quarreling over these things? I want to know that usually the thing they're complaining about is not the issue. It is just a tool that helps them vent. All right? So what I'm going to say is have a calm conversation with your spouse, and see whether you can work things out at that early level before things degenerate further. See, when things begin to degenerate, there are some telltale signs, all right? When things begin to degenerate, there are some telltale signs. And if you know the signs, you can begin to know the direction in which your marriage or your relationship is headed. One of the telltale signs that I wanted to point out to you is that affection does not last. What do I mean by that? As husband and wife, you may even have intimacy. But it looks like right after that intimate session, they have something else to complain about. It looks like right after you are done and all of that, there's something else to quarrel over. There's something else to argue about. There's something else to be upset about. 1 minute, they say, I love you in a moment of intimacy. And the next minute, it's like they want to tear your head off. They want to rip your head off. So you find yourself in this continuous cycle of, I love you, I want to kill you, I love you, I want to kill you. It should begin to tell you that there are underlying issues, fault lines are beginning to show up in your union. These are some of the things you need to begin to look at. When you find this happening in your relationship, something is definitely wrong. Something definitely is going wrong. And you know, let me also point out, at times there are those kind of spouses that use the I love you part to even justify the rash behavior. You know, and you want to be careful, because that is a relationship that may begin to head towards abuse. All right? So you want to look at that. What other things do I want to point out to you so that you begin to understand that fault lines are beginning to show up in your relationship? They stop being as accepting of you as they used to be. You begin to feel like your partner no longer accepts you. For instance, the things that they've always known were there. Maybe it is the fact that you snore. Suddenly becomes unbearable. Becomes something that makes them really irritated. Things. Maybe they've always known that you make your hair in a particular way. And all of a sudden, this thing that has always been you, that they accepted before, has become this thing that it looks like they cannot stand anymore. And the problem with that is they can start treating you with contempt. Now this is even easy if it is something that you can change. But imagine if it is something that is physical, that you cannot change. And they begin to use that to treat you with contempt. Something is definitely wrong there. Those are fault lines that you want to begin to look at. When you begin to see some of these trends, it should begin to let you know that there are things that are definitely going wrong in your relationship. You can, in a calm manner, try to bring it to her attention or his attention. But if all of that does not work, you may want to find someone that they respect to begin to mediate. All right? Because once a partner begins to treat their spouse with contempt, my worry for that is, where does it stop? Before you know it, they are dealing with their partner with contempt in front of their children. Especially for a man. once you treat a man with contempt in front of his children, he automatically feels the need to defend himself. And then things may degenerate from there. So you also want to watch out for that. Another thing you want to watch out for is there is this thing that looks like they're oblivious to your pain. When it looks like your partner just does not even see that you are suffering, or that their behavior is making you unhappy. What you need to do there is two of you need to step back a bit and look at that relationship again. And be willing to take responsibility for your part in getting that relationship to that point. Because that is a huge signal. When you are in pain and your partner and your spouse, your husband or your wife is totally oblivious to it, and especially when that pain is caused by them, it is something that you really want to look at very closely. Another pointer that I want you to look at is when connection disappears. You just cannot seem to connect. You see, when you first got married, you were aligned. You were always together on every point. There was communication, there was connection. And then as things started going on, you realize that connection is no longer there. Now, the issue with connection is this. You need to also be careful. What is bringing it on? Is it just life? Is it the stress of life? Is it children? Is it work? Is it the bitterness from unresolved issues? Is it children? Is it kids that is bringing all of this pressure that is now affecting your relationship, such that you are losing the sense of connection with your spouse? When this begins to happen, the stronger partner, the one that notices it first, you need to try to help your partner and pull them back in so that you guys can find your reconnection again. Another thing that can point you to the fact that your relationship is in trouble is this one. When affection becomes seasonal, when affection becomes seasonal, it is important that you take note. So what do I mean by when affection becomes seasonal? The only time they show any kind of affection towards you is on your birthday, or on your wedding anniversary, or Valentine, or on any of those days. The problem with that is that person is basically just going through the motions without any feeling. If every other day, apart from days of importance, either to you or to them or to both of you, there is no affection in your relationship, it means something has gone definitely awry. Something is not right. The things I'm pointing out to you are indicators that can help you quickly understand when your partner may be heading in the direction of that person that stops caring. All right? That stops caring. You want to be sure that affection is not seasonal. How do you mitigate that? How can you help someone who only wants to show you affection on your birthday, on Valentine's Day, or only on your wedding anniversary? That's the only time they want to show you that they care. One of the things you can do is treat them the way you want to be treated. Let your show of affection be constant. Keep doing what you are doing. All right? Keep doing what you are doing. Offer them kindness even when you don't feel like it. Do your part. I always say this to couples. You can only control what is under your control. You cannot really control the reaction or the responses of your spouse, but you can control how you will react or how you will respond to whatever is going on in your relationship. So those are some of the pointers that you want to take note of. Now, if my partner has shut down, is shutting me out, or she's shutting me out, what do I do when I cannot reach them? Number one thing that you can do is this. You can pray. And I do not want to gloss over the place or the importance of prayer. Hear me. I believe that two of you are children of God. And the Bible says that the heart of kings is in the hands of God. He knows where to turn it like the course of a river. Your spouse is also a child of God. Speak to his father or speak to her father about the things that they are doing that is making you unhappy. That is a critical part of this. Pray, fast if you need to. Ask God for a strategy to reach them. Whatever you need to do, do that. All right? The next thing that you can do is find out. Because people don't just stop caring overnight. People don't just get to the point where they stop caring overnight. It is not something that they go to sleep today and they wake up tomorrow and they say they're no longer going to care whatever you do or whatever happens with the marriage. See, usually people get there because there are lots and lots of unresolved issues and they have become bitter. And usually you find bitterness where there is also unforgiveness. So you want to retrace your steps. How were you guys before you got to this part where your partner no longer cares? How were you guys doing? What were the things that you were doing when things were good? Is it possible that there are certain things you stopped doing? Number two, is it possible that as they were evolving, you did not evolve with them? Because see, we all change. And I say there's nothing as frustrating as being offered what you used to need but no longer need. We are all evolving. I tell husbands, the young girl, the starry-eyed young girl, naive young girl that you married at 23 may not be the same woman in your house at 37 or 38. She would have evolved. So you trying to treat her like the 23-year-old girl may leave her in a bad place. And vice versa also. It also is the same way for a man. The young, carefree, go-lucky guy that you met who always wanted to laugh and stuff, it's not the 42-year-old man that is living in your house now. Now he's weighed down with different kind of issues. He's thinking about legacy. He's trying to find his feet in his career of choice or in whatever his hands find to do. He's thinking about children. He's thinking about so many things. Now the problem is if your partner or spouse is evolving and you did not evolve with them, it can leave them in a place of frustration. And frustration over time can lead to unforgiveness because they can begin to think you are doing the things you are doing deliberately. So one of the things you can do is retrace your step. How did we get here? Can you begin to right the wrongs of the past? What can you do there? And you see, to do this, it is important that you take responsibility. Whoever is trying to reach their spouse, whether it's the husband or the wife, you need to take responsibility because you played a part in this. You played a part in getting your spouse to the point where they simply do not care anymore. They are still in the marriage. They are not saying they are leaving the marriage, but you know that there's a huge disconnect in the marriage. It's like two strangers living in the same space. Whether you are happy, they don't care. Whether you are sad, they don't care. If you are ill, they will do what they need to do. But you know that something is definitely wrong with that. One of the things you can do, like I've said, after you have prayed, is retrace your step and own your part of the story. Because usually there are things that we would have done that got our spouses to the point where they are saying they do not care. Now, this also, I need to point this out. Whoever is the spouse fighting at this point for this marriage needs to know this is not going to be an easy process. Already, it is painful enough. It is painful just to know that the person you committed your life to no longer cares about you. You have to deal with feelings of rejection, abandonment. All of those things will come to the fore. So I'm going to encourage, this is also the place for you to be strong because now you are the one fighting for this marriage. I have always believed that in a marriage, at different times in a marriage, different people or different partners fight for the health of that marriage. In some time, it's the man that is fighting for the health of the marriage. At some other season, it's the woman fighting for the health of the marriage. But whoever is fighting for the well-being of the marriage at this point, it is not going to be an easy journey. All right? It's a painful place to be. To even think that the person that you decide to go on this journey of life with has become this person who no longer really cares about you, or even care about the marriage, or care about whatever happens there. It's a painful place to be. So you also have to be strong. All right, you have to be strong. I needed to say that to you. Another thing is this, as I begin to bring this to a close. Is your spouse even aware that they are in this place where they don't care? Because I've realized that in a marriage, people can get into different spaces without even knowing that they are there. Is the person aware? Do they know that their behavior, their nonchalance, their attitude towards you is making you grossly unhappy? If they are not aware, you want to call their attention to it, like I said, in a calm way, and hopefully you can redress that. Now, how do you deal with someone who doesn't care and who is no longer ready to work on the marriage? What are you supposed to do? The person is already saying, I don't care. It's like how a man says to the wife, you know what? You go to work, you come back late, whatever you want to do, just do you. Let me do me. It doesn't matter anymore. How do you navigate that place where this person who doesn't care also doesn't want to care? I can tell you, it takes your frustration, it multiplies your frustration exponentially. It is one thing for the person not to care, but when you draw their attention to it, they're willing to work on the marriage and willing to work on whatever got them to the point where they don't care. But when you have to deal with someone who is in the place where they don't care, and they've also gone to the place where they don't care enough to care anymore. They just what can you do? Honestly, there's nothing you can do apart from playing your own part, doing your best to win them back. That is the best that you can do. The thing I'm going to tell you is this. They fell in love with you once. They can fall in love with you again. It's going to be arduous. It's going to be hard work. But you will do the work to win them back. You will not look at their responses. You know, because when this is happening, even when the person is considering caring or coming back to the place of connection in the marriage, don't forget, if you have a history of things like this happening, they cannot trust your decision. So even when they are thinking, okay, let me give this thing a try again, they are also thinking, but I did this in 2015, I did it in 2013, I did this and we still get back to this point. So why try? When your spouse is in that place, give them time. Be understanding. Realize that the things they are dealing with is also tough for them also. And there's a level of trust that's been broken that will take time to heal. But whilst all of that is going on, know this. If they fell in love with you before, I'm sure you can win them back. I do believe that you've learned something from our discourse today. Until I come your way again, be strong in the Lord, in the power of His might. Keeping on. All right. God bless you. And I'll see you next time.